Hello and welcome back to the channel. This video will cover a computer program I made in Java that is designed specifically with Wordle in mind. My algorithm will dissect, observe, and rank letter frequencies in the realm of Wordle. Now, for those of you who are a bit out of the loop, or perhaps you're watching this video 5 years from now and Wordle is not as relevant, let me give you a quick refresher. Wordle is a web-based word game made up of 30 empty tiles put into one big box. The objective of the game is to guess a 5-letter word password in 6 tries or less. You also get a feedback after every guess. The hint-based feedback comes in the form of a colored tile, each with their own dose of information. Given these returns, you're able to strategize and make a more educated guess on what your next try is. What has many people hooked on Wordle is its scarcity. The game only has a single daily solution, with all players attempting to guess the same word, which does a great job in building up hype and anticipation for the next daily word. And much like many great trends, niches, subcultures, and subgenres are very quick to emerge and follow suit. From it stems an interesting point of debate and analysis. Can such a format be statistically broken down? And does it adhere to the standard power laws that much larger systems are confounded to? That's what we're here to explore. I want to determine what are some of the strongest letters at each position in the game, as well as what are some of the best starting words in Wordle, which can cover the most ground. Now, plenty of experts, websites, and YouTubers have already come up with their own analysis on some of the best starting words, and they're all excellent and worth checking out. I'll actually link some of them in the description. I personally wanted to attack this problem from a computer science angle, by using and applying software engineering principles along with common data structures like hash maps and array lists. I thought it'd be a cool way to have fun with Wordle. But before diving into the intricacies of the code, there are important things worth talking about. First and foremost, letter frequency analysis, which is an important tool to consider when you are trying to model the behavior of letters among words. And many rankings already exist. There are important distinguishments to be made. Letter rankings are relative to their pool. While some letters would hold a higher value given that you are analyzing biblical text, they might not hold up given the analysis of modern English texts. This same philosophy applies to the length of words. Frequency of letters will vary depending on whether you're observing 3-letter words, 4-letter words, 5, 6, and so on. In the case of the Wordle word pool, kind of a tongue twister, we are dealing with a curated list of 5-letter words in a relatively limited bank of up to 12,972 words. Give or take, I didn't really account New York Times reductions, but it shouldn't alter it too much. Some of which are not even technically considered words in the English traditional sense, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Thus, in order to break down the letter patterns in Wordle, it's important to acknowledge how words in general operate in terms of letter frequency distribution. Which brings us to the power law. In statistics, a power law is a functional relationship between two quantities, where a relative change in one quantity results in a proportional relative change in the other quantity, independent of the initial size of those quantities. In short, one quantity varies as a power of another. Think of a kingdom as an analogy. The power law dynamics that exist between the ruler of a kingdom versus a townsperson is proportional to the said relationship. Thus, a relative change to the rulership will have a much higher impact on a single townsman's livelihood than if the situation was reverse. If you plucked out a townsperson, a king or queen wouldn't even notice. The power law dynamics are clearly at play here. This is where Zipf's law comes in, an empirical law formulated using mathematical statistics, and it refers to the fact that for many types of data studied in the physical and social sciences, the rank frequency distribution is an inverse relation. Now, Zipf's law is very intricate and I can go on for days talking about it, but I'd much more recommend looking at Vsauce's video. He covers it in depth and he does a great job. I'll link it in the description. But, in its simplest form, Zipf's law is a function of 1 over f. The core concept behind the Zipfian distribution is that the frequency of any word is inversely proportional to its rank. So the most frequent word will occur approximately twice as often as the second most frequent word, 3 times as often as the third most frequent word, and so on and so forth. This natural observation occurs in many statistical situations, including the frequency of letters. Zipf will be the basis of our ranking system. I'm just gonna pull us out of the video for a quick moment and remind you guys to subscribe and like the video if you're enjoying it so far. Also, there is a subreddit for narcode. It's in the description, so be sure to check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's a full report breakdown of the software I use, so yeah, be sure to check it out. But anyways, back to the video. Well, now that we've covered the essential concepts, we can talk about the code and algorithms at work. The Wordle analysis can be divided into 3 core subsections. First, we count the frequency of letters in each position and overall. We attach a score to each letter based on its relative frequency and a Zipfian metric. And finally, we rank words by summing up their overall letter scores. For the first part, tracking the frequency of letters was as simple as creating a list of hash maps for each letter position in the 5-letter word. So we end up with a list containing 5 hash maps for each position, as well as an extra hash map for the overall. So when I counted a letter's occurrence at a given position, I was able to tack on the frequency as a value associated with the letter key in our hash map. This allows easy access to the frequency count of any letter at any position. For the scoring algorithm, perhaps the most crucial function in the program, it rifles through every hash map that contains a key letter and a frequency value for all 5 positions, as well as the overall frequency of a letter, and attaches a score ranking that increments, as in it goes up, as we go from frequent to less frequent. The score calculation is influenced by Zipf's law, but uses the relative frequency of a letter to sift through the ranking. By doing so, we're able to observe the different letters that dominate at different positions, as well as overall in the Wordle library. You'll notice the letters with the lowest scores have the highest strength. Overall, the strongest letters in Wordle are E, A, R, O, and T. And of course, this varies when we observe particular positions. While E has the strongest overall score, it ranks 14th in the first position, so at the start of the word. It's better to go with S or C in that spot. Here's some more of the top letters at each position. The last step of the process is going through every possible answer in the Wordle list of answers and tallying up the score of each letter based on its positional score and overall score. The optimal words are expected to have a lower score than the less optimal words. This algorithm also adds a penalty to repeat letters, as it is more ideal to cover a larger range of unique letters. Double letters might skew the system if there's a high yield letter that is getting repeated, like a double E or a double S. I also attached a small function to compare certain words' letters to every other letter in the list of words. It tracks the frequency of its letters in a given position as well as the overall frequency compared to all words in the list and draws a yield metric. To sum it up, it basically gives us the probability that we hit at least a green or a yellow tile with the word. And without further ado, adhere? Well, that's not on the list anyways, but anyways, without further ado, here's some of the best starters you can use in the game. So if you're looking closely, you'll notice there's at most a 1.37 difference between the top 10 words. And that differentiation actually spreads across maybe the top 20, 30, 40 words. Any of these words is considered an optimal first guess, and based on the luck of the draw, will yield you some tiles. Wordle is very luck-based, and like we've seen, there's ways to skew your luck, but you might not always hit a colored tile on your first go, and that's okay. That's part of the game. So whatever you go with, just note that there's some distinctions to be made. For example, going with soar, you're more likely to draw a yellow tile. If you decide to go with sane, which is just as good an option, you're 0.12% more likely to draw a green, but 3.35% less likely to hit a yellow. And before you Google some of these words, let me save you some time. There's citations of soar being a young hawk, and sane being a British iteration of sane, which means to bless or protect from evil. But as I've mentioned, these words are pulled from the official list of words from Wordle, and not from Merriam-Webster. So they may not fly if you're playing competitive Scrabble, so take it with a grain of salt. Before I sign out, here's a quick breakdown of the top 8 words produced by the algorithm. It's important to note, the tiles are not meant to be in that specific order. This just determines the likelihood of hitting any combination of these tiles. For example, if you take a look at soar, your odds of getting a single green tile at any position is 9.24%, whereas your odds of hitting a green and a yellow anywhere in the word is 5.97%. You're better off pausing the video and taking a closer look at these numbers if you're really interested. Also, if you like playing the game in easy mode, which means you don't have to reuse green and yellow letters for future guesses, a combination of soar and clint, or sane and court, are highly optimal combinations. And if you want to play on extreme difficulty, here are some of the worst words you can use. When it comes to it, Wordle involves strategy, but it also has a lot of luck involved, so it's important to remember to just have some fun with it. And if you enjoyed this video or appreciated the work I put into it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out the subreddit r/narcode, where I post a full report of the software and my findings. And until next time, peace.